Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. As part of all the first looks that dropped recently, some of them were for the Fantastic Four movie, specifically for Franklin Richards, most powerful character, or one of the most powerful characters that Marvel's ever introduced in the live-action movies. There's scenes of the brand new version of Silver Surfer. There are even some sly Spider-Man Easter eggs in the background in what look like some scenes from what might be the end of the actual movie, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We got Avengers Secret Wars, Avengers Doomsday stuff. I've already done a couple videos for that, so I'll post the links at the end of this. It is going to take a while to work through all these first looks. Some of them are really good. Some of them raise more questions than they answer too. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? As is usually the case with Marvel, a lot of the concept art and early work that they do on these movies winds up being way cooler than the stuff that actually winds up making it to screen. Starting with the biggest stuff first, Franklin Richards. There have been a lot of theories about what he's going to be doing in the movie, how the movie's going to invoke his character. There are a lot of scenes in the trailer that it seems like Marvel has edited in misleading ways so that you don't see that Sue Storm is probably super pregnant during most of the trailer scenes. Most of these scenes of Franklin Richards, though, are long after his birth, after he's become a toddler, and Reed Richards in this scene seems like he's built him a floating baby chair. Very Reed Richards kind of thing to do, but because it's the 1960s era, is very retro-futuristic in terms of vibes and design language. Just like the rest of their universe. The only thing that I don't think is going to stick is obviously all their costumes. Like, look at the way they're dressed. This is probably not going to appear in the movie. Just the idea that Franklin Richards is a big part of the movie. But you do notice that Herbie in the background looks pretty close to what his final design is in the actual trailer. So like, this is very close. Not totally clear what this boombox looking device beneath him is. It's probably not a boombox. Seems like Johnny Storm is using his powers to actually heat up his coffee.
Now picture that, but everywhere.
Then beneath Sue Storm, it just seems like there's some toys that belong to Franklin Richards that Reed Richards built for him. Moving along, you see the characters in their lounge room with Herbie serving them drinks, them sitting on the couch, and Reed Richards is reading to Franklin Richards, who either seems like he's falling asleep, like he's fallen asleep in his arms, like traditional kids do when you read to them at night. And notice that Johnny Storm seems like he's holding a retro-futuristic version of an actual smartphone with a camera on the back, like he's got a 1960s version of what an iPhone might look like if Reed Richards created iPhones in the 1960s. Now we know how the Fantastic Four is making all their money, just all this technology that they're creating. Also love Ben Grimm's sweater. Can they start making these as merch and selling them right now? It's clobbering time. I definitely think she's supposed to be pregnant during this scene, and Marvel just edited the trailer when she's giving the tour of their building and they're talking about dinner at 7 p.m. every Sunday night. Clearly looks like she's pregnant during this scene where she opens the door trying to find out what Johnny Storm is doing sitting inside his suit on that chair. And I think this scene of her with Reed Richards with their spacecraft exploding all around him and her turning invisible briefly here while she's in his arms is when she might be giving birth to Franklin Richards, like she's actually giving birth in this scene. Then there's an image of Reed Richards' company, and it seems like he's just installing energy, like these clean energy devices that he's created around the city. You actually saw it in some of the concept art that they released during Comic-Con, where there's like a clean energy facility, sort of like arc reactor technology, but it's Reed Richards' version of clean energy. Imagine if he'd introduced that during the 1960s, how that would have reshaped the landscape of the way the world uses energy. But it seems like his giant device here, like his giant car crane here, is just a huge version of Herbie that he's constructed. Also, funny way of them spelling energy on these crates, like it says Menergy. Then there's another scene of Sue Storm using her powers with the rest of them. Notice their costumes all look very different too. They look more like the original Chris Evans era Fantastic Four costumes with like the solid blue and the black. Not totally sure where they are, but they seem like they're caught on a river and she's using her powers just to keep them afloat. My assumption this is just meant to be an early idea for an action scene that showcases the way her powers work. There's a bunch of different shots of ideas that they had for Herbie early on. Personally, I think the design they went with is fine, but like way down here on the bottom here, this swole looking version of Herbie is actually pretty cool. Just imagine somebody trying to sell some of this stuff as actual merch. This should actually be pretty cool.
Supervillains and superheroes figures, each sold separately.
Then there are a couple of looks at Sue Storm with a relatively newborn Franklin Richards, like right after he's been born. Notice the different costumes that they were thinking about here. These also look way more futuristic than the very, very 1960s costumes that we see in the actual trailers. Not totally clear if some of these designs that look like they're more contemporary were based on a version of the movie before they decided to go full period piece during the 1960s, like set the actual movie itself during the 1960s. There might have been a couple different versions of the movie where they envisioned making it where it was set closer to present day. The other very obvious thing here is that this does not look like Vanessa Kirby at all, so I'm assuming that this was done before they actually signed a contract with Vanessa Kirby, and they told everybody that was actually working on the movie to make all the designs look like Vanessa Kirby for Sue Storm. But the obvious thing being here that there are several different versions of Franklin Richards as a newborn and then as a toddler, very clear that he's a big part of the movie. Next real big thing is our first actual look at Silver Surfer in the movie, and it's meant to be Julia Garner from Ozark playing what seems like the Shia LaBeouf version of the character. This is an alternate universe, so I'm just assuming that Norrin Radd in this universe was never the Herald of Galactus, or he's already been the Herald, and then she's taken over after him. In the comics, the whole transition was that he had rebelled against Galactus, so he needed a new Herald, and he selected Shia LaBeouf as that one. If you watch that classic 1990s Silver Surfer animated series, she's actually featured at the beginning of that. In the comics, she had a relationship with Norrin Radd, like that was their connection in the main 616 comic book universe. As far as I know, though, this Julia Garner version of Silver Surfer is not going to survive this movie. Like, she won't make it into Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars or everything that comes after. I think because Marvel eventually wants to introduce a Norrin Radd version of the character from the comics in a post-Secret Wars world. But it seems like what's going on in this scene is that she's attacked like she's first come to Earth and she's facing Reed Richards here. Notice his costume still looks a little more futuristic, but she does look like she's in full Silver Surfer attire, like she is fully silver on the surfboard. Her glowing hands would just be her manipulating the power cosmic given to her by Galactus. Although it does look, when she raises her right hand here when it's glowing, it looks a little bit like she's holding the Tesseract, which I don't think is the case. I think it's just more of the power cosmic. I am sure when the Fantastic Four movie comes out, that'll be another big question too. Like, what's going on with the Infinity Stones in this reality? Like, have they already found them? Have they found one or two? Because in the original MCU version of Earth, a couple Infinity Stones were on planet Earth already. Then it seems like we get a scene of Sue Storm in a more futuristic looking costume and a futuristic looking tech hallway here. Not really sure what kind of facility this is, fighting somebody else that's attacking her. Notice it's blue beams, and it almost seems like it's ice powers fighting her, but this could just be the way they're depicting it with the color on screen. This could be her fighting Silver Surfer or something like that, but it could be her fighting another mutant of some kind. Here's a scene of Sue Storm in a more contemporary-looking outfit, and notice Franklin Richards' costume here seems like a Spider-Man themed costume. Like, these definitely look like Spider-Man themed colors. There have been so many questions about other MCU heroes showing up inside the Fantastic Four movie, like which heroes from the MCU that we're familiar with exist during the 1960s and will pop up in different versions in the Fantastic Four movie during this era of the 1960s. There are a lot of MCU characters that were alive and very active during that period. Howard Stark is a really good example of that, probably one of the best examples. But I think because they're trying to differentiate the new Fantastic Four movie in this alternate universe, we won't see a ton of that. The closest I think we're getting might be Robert Downey Jr.'s version of Doctor Doom, but he's meant to be Victor Von Doom, not just Iron Man in another universe that's calling himself Doctor Doom. Then we get what looks like an extended fight scene of Sue Storm fighting off a bunch of attackers here coming inside this apartment here. This might just be in the Fantastic Four's tower here, like their actual building that we see in all the trailers. But notice some of the people in the tech gear here look like more futuristic tech gear. Some of these lower, though, look a little more 1960s period. So part of me just wonders if these are all from different versions of the movie, where, like I said, one of them they were envisioning being closer to present day, and the others were when they decided to make it a full 1960s period piece. Like, no, we don't want futuristic stuff. We want stuff to look like it's from the 1960s. Part of me is wondering if this is going to be from later in the movie after the Fantastic Four find a way to escape their universe. There's a lot of theories about how this is going to go down. Like, we might actually see Galactus destroy their version of Earth and Reed Richards use his multiverse bridge like he did in the Jonathan Hickman comics to actually help him and his family escape before that winds up happening. Like measure of last resort, there's nothing we can do to stop Galactus. He is hungering for this planet. He's going to destroy it. So the best thing we can do is just escape with the family.
Zip, people, let's move. Let's go, 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 go.
There have been a lot of theories about Galactus' tie to Franklin Richards in the actual movie. The current rumor is that Galactus wants Franklin Richards to help him rebuild his original universe that he came from. I've done a whole bunch of Galactus videos in the MCU because there have been a couple Marvel movies in the past where they've tried to introduce him and then removed him from the movie at the last minute. It sounds like Galactus in this movie is going to be a multiversal being as opposed to the comics where there are a different version of Galactus in every single universe, but the whole concept of his origin is the same in the different versions like the MCU version and the comic book version. He comes from a previous version of the universe before it was destroyed in this heat death and then reborn to a new version of the universe with another Big Bang. Without getting into like a 10-minute explainer for the whole concept of multiple Big Bangs in real life, that's actually a real-life scientific theory. Galactus is from a previous version of the universe and was the last living being to witness the heat death of his version of the universe, the multiverse really, so the living entity of that entire multiverse basically agreed to fuse with him so that they could survive the next Big Bang into the next iteration of the multiverse. So Galactus essentially became the combination of the scientist Galen of Ta and the living embodiment of the previous version of the multiverse, which is why he's so powerful. Basically like the remnant of a previous version of the multiverse running around in giant form. The whole thing about Galactus, though, even though they're trying to be very comic book accurate to his depiction in the actual movie, we only see the back of his head. Gonna look really cool to actually get that full shot of him, hoping they release that in one of the next trailers. One of Galactus' big abilities is being able to change his appearance based on whoever's race he's coming to consume. Like whichever planet he goes to, whichever race lives there, he just makes himself in their image. So that's why when he comes to Earth to consume it, he looks like this giant man wearing this huge helmet. If he were to go to the Skrulls' home planet and he showed up to consume their world, he would look like a giant Skrull.
For that, I will destroy their planet.
But everyone post all your reactions and your theories based on all these first looks in the comments below. There's a bunch of other stuff for other movies and other TV shows too, like the canceled Iron Man 3000 TV show. I'll try to do a video for that next. There's just so much stuff. It's going to take me a couple days to get through all of it. If anyone has any first looks at the new X-Men movie that Marvel is working on, just pass them along. I promise I will not tell anybody about it. The other real big reminder is that Daredevil Born Again episodes are starting Tuesday night. My video for the first couple episodes will post after they release them, probably on Wednesday morning. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that stuff, because it is supposed to be peak. Peak Marvel is back. Everybody click here for that first look at Avengers Doomsday, and click here for all my Daredevil episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.